So let's continue and let's solve some questions. So suppose we have the following alphabets available with us. Okay, and the question is find the number of words made using all the letters of the word Mississippi such that first all S are together and all I are together. So this is pretty straightforward. Put all the S in one block, put all the P's, sorry, uh, put all the I's in another block, and remaining we have three spaces for M, P, and P. So now you have to permute five objects, out of which two are alike, and there is no other arrangement possible between the S's and the I's because they are all alike. This is your answer. Second, no two I are together. Well, now you see, we have the following alphabets available with us: S, 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 four I's, two P's, and one N. So let's put all the alphabets other than I's. So we have seven places: one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, and then we have eight gaps. So for the seven alphabets, the seven remaining letters, which are four S's, two P's, and one M, they can be arranged in 7 factorial upon 4 factorial, 2 factorial ways. Okay, and then out of these 8 places, we have to select 4 gaps for to place the 4 I's, and they can be arranged in only one way because they are all alike. This is your answer. Okay, then the third part is both P are together but I's are separated. Okay, now you see, we want both the P's to be together. Okay, so put the two P's in one block. Alright, and I's are separated. So you have one block which is a single unit for the two P's, and then place the remaining. You have four S's and one M. Okay, so you have S, 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 and M. Now, how many gaps do you have? You see, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 7 gaps. Okay, so first of all, arrange these 6 objects 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in 6 factorial upon 4 factorial ways because 4 S's are alike. And then select 4 gaps out of these 7 gaps available, and you can arrange the 4 I's in only one way. So this is your answer. So basically we are using gap and tie method together. Okay, okay, then the next part is all I's are together, all I's are not present together. This is simple. we will use the bijection rule, because it is pretty straightforward to use the bijection rule. If you recall from a previous lecture, we discussed a case when we had two scenarios. Okay, so recall, please go through that part again. In that we said that when the question asked is all of some objects are not present together, then you see this particular case, if three eyes are together and one eye is somewhere else, then this is a favorable case. Okay, so this must be counted. This is different from the case when we have no two eyes are together. In that case, this is not a favorable case. Okay, so bijection rule is actually much easier to apply in this case, because all you have to do is for the unfavorable cases, all you have to do is you just have to make a block of four eyes. And how many ways can you arrange, how many words can you form if the four eyes are together? Well, you have P here, four S's here, and one M here. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 objects, out of which 2 are alike and 4 are alike of another kind. Okay, so these are the unfavorable cases. What are the total cases? Total cases are nothing but all objects, all letters taken with 4 alike, 4 S's, 4 I's, and 2 P's. So this is your answer. Alright, let's move on and let's solve some more questions. 11 players are to be selected out of 10 batsmen, 5 bowlers, 2 keepers, such that at least 4 bowlers are selected. Okay, now you see, first of all, let me just point out that what would be an erroneous logic to apply in this case. You see, there would be a tendency to do something like this: 5C4, select 4 bowlers out of 5. Okay, and then argue that out of the you have total 10 batsmen, 5 bowlers, 2 keepers, so you have total 17 people. Okay, now once you have selected 4 bowlers out of 5, you have 13 people remaining. From those 13, select 7. Okay, the reason, so the logic that we are trying to implement here is, once you have selected 4 bowlers out of the 5, now you can select any number of people from the remaining 13 players. So in that, either one bowler can be included, or the remaining bowler will not be included. So anyways, at least 4 bowlers are included. Okay, but the problem is, you see, we said, I am emphasizing this again and again, that whenever we do multiplication, whenever we apply multiplication rule, that is the fundamental principle of counting is being applied everywhere. Okay, so whenever we use multiplication, that includes all possible orders. You see, suppose in 5C4, one of the selections might be something like this, that these 4 bowlers might be selected. Okay, this is corresponding to 5C4. And corresponding to 13C7, suppose B5 was one of the people selected. Okay, but you can also get the following thing. You can get B1, B2, B3 and B5 here, and you can get B4 somewhere here in this selection. Okay, but both are the same choices. You get my point? We are concerned about selection. We don't care about ordering. So there is overcounting in this method, 5c4 into 13c7. Okay, so that's why this is an erroneous logic. So there is overcounting that's happening in this argument because of this logic that we have applied. Okay, now now what is the right way to do it? You see, I told you that whenever you have something like at least or at most, then you should convert it to exactly. Okay, so case one would be exactly 4 bowlers are selected. Okay, so in that case you have 5c4, select 4 bowlers out of 5, and then excluding all the bowlers you have 12 people left, and you can select 7 out of them. We are saying we need exactly 4 bowlers, so out of the 5 bowlers we select 4 in this many ways, and then except the bowlers there are excluding the bowlers there are 12 players left, so select 12 7 remaining players from these 12 people. Case 2 would be 5 bowlers, exactly 5 bowlers. Okay, now in this case you have 5c5 into 12c6, right? So final answer would be 5c4 into 12c7 plus 5c5 into 12c6. Okay, so that's your answer for this problem. Okay, let's move ahead. Suppose I have the word, I have these following letters. Okay, now again the same question, find the number of, the question is find number of 4-lettered words. Now I am not using all the words, I am just using 4-lettered words. I want to form 4-lettered words which can be formed using the letters of this word Allahabad. Alright, okay, such that first part is all different. All letters are different. So that's pretty simple. See, you have 4 A's, 2 L's, 1 H, B, and D. Okay, so if you want all different, so how many letters do you have? You have 1 A, different letters are 5. There are 5 different letters. So select any 4 out of them. Okay, and then permute them in 4 factorial ways. So this is the answer for the first part. The second, exactly 2 letters are same. Okay, rest all are different. Alright, so you see, if exactly 2 letters are same, then the only possible options are A and L. Okay, the only possible options can be A and L because they are the only letters which you have two, at least 2 of each. Now H, B and D, they can appear only once, so they can't repeat. Okay, so the way to do it is first select one letter out of A and L, A or L, which you want to repeat, which needs to be repeated twice. Okay, then once you have selected A or L, out of the 4 remaining letters, suppose you have selected A, then you have 1, 2, 3, 4 letters left. Select any 2 out of them. Okay, and then in how many ways can you arrange these 4 letters that you have obtained now? 2 of them are alike, so 4 factorial upon 2 factorial. Okay, so that is your answer. Now if I ask you uh, in this part only, if I say that 2 are of one type and 2 are of other type, then the only option is AALL, right? Because these are the only letters which have at least 2 of their copies available. So in this case the answer would be 4 factorial upon 2 factorial 2 factorial. Okay, now if I ask you that word should include L, and A should not be repeated. Okay, now word should include L and A should not be repeated. Now how many L's do we have? We have two L's. So again, let's form two cases. Case 1, exactly one L is used. Okay, if exactly one L is used, then and A should not be repeated. Okay, so you see, uh, you have to form a four-letter word. L is fixed. Now you have four remaining alphabets, which is A, H, B, and D. Okay, A, H, B, and D. So select any three out of them. Okay, select any three out of them. All right, and then you can arrange these four alphabets in 4 factorial ways. Now note that when we select any three out of them, then it's clear that A is not being repeated. It's not given that A should be used. It's just saying that whenever A is used, it should not be repeated. So that means A is used at most once. So this condition takes care of this calculation takes care of all those things. Okay, so in this case, 4C3 into 4 factorial, exactly one L is being used and A is not being repeated. Case 2, exactly 2L are being used. Okay, so in this case you have L and L, two places are fixed. Okay, so out of the remaining four letters A, H, B, and D, select any two, and now you can arrange these four alphabets in 4 factorial upon 2 factorial base. Okay, because two L's are alike. Okay, now the next part is no letter is repeated and D should be present. This is again, there are two ways to approach this now. You see, one is the bijection rule and one is the direct method. See, D is fixed. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to select three letters out of the remaining four, excluding D. So you have A, L, H, and B. Out of these, select any three. Okay, and then arrange them in 4 factorial ways. Or what you can do is the total number of four lettered words without repetition is 5C4 into 4 factorial minus unfavorable cases. Unfavorable cases are those cases in which D is not present. So if D is not present, then you can select the remaining the four letters in 4C4 ways and arrange in 4 factorial ways. So this and this, they are exactly the same things. Okay. Now the next question is no repetition of any letter and word should either start with H or end with D. So what we are saying is repetition is not allowed and either the word should start with H or it should end with D, or both can also happen, right? Now you see, what are the number of ways in which the word starts with H and ends with D, right? So basically you have A, L, and B available. Select two out of these three and then permute them in 2 factorial because H and D are fixed. So you have to choose two alphabets for these two places, which can be done in 3C2 ways, and you can then permute them in 2 factorial ways. Okay, now case 2 would be when H is present at the first place and remaining three can be chosen in 4C3 ways, and then you can permute them in 3 factorial ways. Similarly, you can have a word which ends with D, again 4C3 into 3 factorial. But you see, there is overcounting happening, because in case 2, for example, you can have a situation when D is also present at the last place. Alright, so basically what we have to do, if you think in terms of set theory, let X be the set of all 4-letter words starting with H. Okay, so this is your X, and let Y be the set of all 4-letter words ending with D. Okay, and this is your X intersection Y. These are all the words which are starting with H and ending with D. So what we want is, we want number of elements in X union Y, which is nothing but number of elements in X plus number of elements in Y minus n X intersection Y. So what will be your answer? It will be nothing but 4C3 into 3 factorial plus 4C3 into 3 factorial minus 3C2 into 2 factorial. Okay, now another method to do this is, it's another perspective. It's exactly, essentially what we are doing is the same thing that we did in the first method, but if you think about it, you see, you have two sets, X, Y, and this is your X intersection Y. Okay, now we want to find number of elements in X union Y. Now if you think about it, this can be done in this way as well. You have n X minus X intersection Y plus n X intersection Y, and then you have this region. So you have X union Y is divided into 3 regions. Alright, X union Y is divided into 3 regions, and you can sum the number of elements in each of these individual regions. So this is n X minus X intersection Y plus n X intersection Y plus n Y minus X intersection Y, which is the red region. Okay, now what does this mean? These are all the words which start with H, okay, but they don't end with D. Okay, and X intersection Y is all those letters which start with H and end with D, whereas this set is all those alphabets, all those words which don't start with H and they end with D. Okay, alright, so if you try to calculate this thing, what is this? This is nothing but, you see, what we are saying is H must be fixed at the first place and D should not be at the last place. So you have H here. Okay, now you have 5 different letters, A, L, H, B, D. Now D should not be there and H is fixed here. So you have A, L and B. 3 options, 3C1 ways to fill the last place. Okay, now once you have filled the last place, now you have to ensure that D does not come here. So you have just A, L and B as options to fill this place. So 3C1 into, now the remaining alphabets are 3 alphabets are remaining, excluding H and the one that you have used at the last place. So select any 2 out of those. Okay, now once you have done that, all you have to do is now find the number of arrangements. Okay, so the number of arrangements, now note that what you have done is you have already made a choice for the last alphabet, which should be between A, L and B. Okay, and you have selected any 2 letters out of the remaining 3 for the middle 2 places. Alright, so what will be the number of arrangements now? The correct number of arrangement, they will be 2 factorial. See, because we have to permute only the middle 2 letters. Alright, because we have freedom to order only the middle 2 letters, not the last letter. Because if see this is a wrong logic. That if you try to do this, that 3C1 ways, you select the last letter out of A, L, and B. Okay, sorry, yeah, out of A, L, and B, you select one letter out of the three available letters, which are A, L, and B. Okay, and then you select two letters from the remaining three, which are which exclude H, and the one which is used at the last place. All right, and now if you try to do 3 factorial, then that is a problem, because in 3 factorial, when you do 3 factorial, then it will there will be a case when D starts coming at the last place also. All right, you have to prevent that. So you have to ensure that D does not come here at the last place. All right, so you have to pay attention to these kind of things, that whether or not overcounting or undercounting occurs, or whether there are redundant cases or not. So you have to pay attention to those. So we can't permute the last, we can't 2 factorial would be the correct way of arranging these 4 letters, not these 4 letters. What I mean to say is, after ensuring that D does not come at the last place, you can choose the middle 2 letters randomly and you can arrange them randomly. Okay, there is no restriction on the middle 2 letters, but there is a restriction on the last letter. You can't have D at the last place. Okay, similarly, when D is fixed at the last place and H is not in the first place, then again you would have 3C1 into 3C2 into 2 factorial number of possible words. Alright, and n x intersection y we have already calculated. This is nothing but 3C2 into 2 factorial, when H is fixed at the first place and D is fixed at the last place. Alright. Okay, so in both these methods, the final answer will obviously come out to be the same. Okay, let's move ahead. Okay, suppose the next question is, suppose you have a polygon of n sides. Okay, the first question is, find total number of diagonals. Now you see, total, if you have any polygon, you see any polygon, any n-sided polygon, then a diagonal can be formed by joining any two vertices except those two vertices which are adjacent. Okay, so basically what you are doing is, you select any 2 points, 2 vertices out of these n vertices. Okay, and you subtract the number of ways to select 2 adjacent vertices minus unfavorable cases. Now unfavorable cases are those when you are selecting 2 adjacent vertices. Okay, now adjacent vertices, in how many ways can you select 2 adjacent vertices? One is these two. If I label them as P1, P2, P3 till Pn, so one choice is P1, P2, P2, P3 till Pn, P1. So how many such choices are there? There are n of them. So the final answer would be NC2 minus n. Okay, now if I ask you B part, number of triangles which have 2 sides in common with the polygon. Okay, now you see, it is clear that we need to select 3 consecutive vertices. See, suppose you have, let's say, a pentagon. Okay, now to form a triangle which has 2 sides in common, that means these 3 vertices must be the three vertices that you select must be consecutive. Okay, now this is pretty simple. In how many ways can you select three consecutive vertices? Suppose you have P1, this point is P2, P3, this is Pn. So one choice is P1, P2, P3, then P2, P3, P4 till Pn minus 1, Pn, P1. Okay, and then Pn, P1, P2, the last one. So how many such choices are there? P1, P2, Pn minus 1, Pn. So n such choices. So basically there are n triangles which can be formed which have two sides in common with the polygon. Okay. Then if I ask you find the total number of triangles which have exactly one side in common with the polygon. Exactly one side. Okay. Now if you want exactly one side in common with the polygon, suppose your polygon is something like this. P1, P2, this is Pn. Now suppose you select this P1, P2, this side. Okay, this is the side that we want in common with the polygon. Now then it's clear that once we select this side, we cannot select the vertex Pn or P3. Do you get my point? Once you select a vertex, once you select a side that you want that you want the triangle to share with the polygon, you can't select the vertices which are adjacent to the vertices which are lying on this side. So you can't select Pn and P3. All right. So basically, if we if I tell you if we try to use the fundamental principle of counting, then if I ask you that select a side, first of all, event E1 is select a side in the polygon. So first of all, make a choice of the side that you want to you want your triangle to share with the polygon. This is the side that you want your triangle to, that's the common side. Okay, so that is your event E1, and your event E2 is select the once you have selected a side, two vertices are selected. Now you want to select the third vertex, but for every side that you have selected, you can't select either these two vertices which are lying on the side or the adjacent vertices. So if you want to select third vertex, then how many choice for event E1 you have n choices, and for event E2 you have n minus 4 choices. All right, so basically n into n minus 4 triangles are possible. All right, it's pretty straightforward. Now if I ask you total number of triangles which have no side in common with the polygon, okay, which have no side in common with the polygon. Now again, this is pretty straightforward. You see, if I want to calculate that, if I want to calculate the total number of triangles which have no side in common with the polygon, then I can do that in this way also, that find the total number of triangles. What are the total number of triangles that you can form? They are selecting any three vertices out of the n vertices. These are the total number of triangles. Okay, and from that, if I subtract the total number of triangles that share exactly one side, which is n into n minus 4, and if I subtract those triangles which share exactly two sides, okay, which share exactly two sides with the triangle, which are with the polygon, which is n. So the total number of triangles which share no side in common is equal to total number of triangles minus those triangles which share at least one side, okay, which share at least one side, and that is this. So this is your answer. Okay, now, all right, so let's move ahead. Now suppose The next question is, between 2 points A and B, there are 15 intermediate stations. Find number of ways in which the train can stop at 3 of the intermediate stations such that no two stops are consecutive. Okay. Now you see, there are a lot of ways to understand the solution to this question. I won't confuse you with the various different methods to understand the solution. Okay, so I'll try to give a straightforward method and I'll try to explain it as much as I can. See, one method to do this question is using the multinomial theorem, which we will cover later. If you use the multinomial theorem, then this is a straightforward question. So basically what you have is, the idea is that you have the 3 stations. Suppose you put the 3 stations this here. Okay, the idea is, now in these gaps that you have created, you want to put at least, the number of stations that can appear to the left of the first station that you have chosen. You can they can be greater than equal to 0. Then you want at least one station between 1 and 2, and you want at least one station between 2 and 3, and you can have any number of stations on the in the last gap. Okay, so we will study multinomial theorem later, and if you use that, then it's pretty straightforward to get the solution. Okay, now since we do not have the multinomial theorem at hand, what we do is the following. You see, what are the non-stopping intermediate, what are the number of non-stopping intermediate stations? Okay, so we have, okay, so you see, out of those 15 stations, the train has to stop at 3 of them. Okay, so the remaining stations are 12. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12 stations here. Alright, now out of these 12 stations, how many gaps have been created? There are 13 gaps. Alright, there are 13 gaps where you can put the 3 stations that you want. See, the idea is, if we recall that, if we were to use the gap method, if we want to use the gap method, suppose if the question was that you have 15 different objects, okay, out of which no 3 of them cannot be together. Okay, so no 2 of the 3 objects can be together. Suppose the 3 stations are S1, S2, S3, and I want to say that no 2 of them should be together. So by gap method, what would you have done? You would have permuted the remaining stations in 12 factorial ways. Okay, and then out of the 13 gaps, you would have selected 3 gaps and then permuted the 3 gaps in 3 factorial ways. Okay, this was the gap method. But now you see, the interesting thing is, this 12 factorial will go away because the stations are fixed. You can't permute the stations because the station numbers are fixed. And once you have selected 3 gaps, you can't permute the 3 stations also because they are also fixed. You can't put one station at some other station's place. Ordering is irrelevant here. Okay, so basically what remains is this 13C3. So essentially what you are doing is, as soon as you select 3 gaps out of these 13 gaps available, that is the number of choices that you can make. That is the answer. This is the answer for the question, that this is the number of ways in which the train can stop at 3 of the intermediate stations such that no 2 stops are consecutive. All right. So this is one way to understand this question, and I think this is the simplest way to visualize that what's actually happening here. You see, the main point here is ordering of the stations is irrelevant. Only the selection is important. So once, see, what is the idea? The idea is, as soon as you select 3 gaps out of these 13 gaps, okay, suppose you select, let's say these are your 12 stations, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. Okay, suppose you select this gap and this gap. Okay, once you select these three, suppose one way would be selecting these 3 gaps out of these 13 C3 ways. One selection would be these 3 gaps. Okay, now once you have made a selection, ordering can be done only in one way, right? So what you can do is, once you have selected the gaps, just label the stations now. This is S1, this is S2, S3, S4, S5, S6, S7, S8 till S15, and here is your A, and in the end is your B. All right, so that's it. Ordering is irrelevant, only selection is important. So once you have selected 3 gaps out of the 13 gaps made, now you, after you have made the selection, just put the station numbers and you will get which stations you have chosen. So in this case, you have chosen S2, S5 and S8. These 3 stations you have chosen. All right. So I hope this makes sense, and I hope to see you soon in the next lecture. Okay, so let's continue. Now, you see, so far we have seen that, for example, let's take some points first. The number of ways of, let's say, selecting r different objects out of n different objects, this we have seen is NCR, where r is less than equal to n. Okay. Second, suppose you have n identical objects, okay, and you want to select r out of them. Then how many ways are there of selecting r objects out of n identical objects? This must be equal to 1, because all are identical. It doesn't matter which one you choose. There's only one way. Okay. Now, if I expand this point number 2, and if I say what are the number of ways of selecting at least r objects out of n identical objects, then what will that be? That will be, see, I told in a previous lecture that whenever you encounter a statement which has the word at least or at most in it, then convert it into exactly. So the question is, what are the number of ways of selecting at least r out of n identical? So this is equal to choosing exactly r, that is case 1, or you could choose exactly r plus 1, that is another mutually exclusive case, or so on. You could choose exactly n. Since all of these are mutually exclusive cases, we can add all of them together. So what are the number of ways of selecting exactly r objects out of n identical objects? That is equal to 1. Similarly, this is equal to 1 and this is equal to 1. So total number of ways would be then n minus r minus 1, and that is equal to n minus r plus 1. Okay, all right. Now, if I ask what are the number of ways of selecting at least r objects, select r out of n different, select at least r out of n different objects. Okay, then that would be, again, by the above logic, it would be either you select exactly R or exactly R plus 1 and so on till exactly or exactly N. So this would be, so this would be NCR plus NCR plus 1 plus NCR plus 2 and so on till NCN. Okay, and if I ask what are the number of ways of selecting at most R out of N different objects, at most R out of N different objects, then that would be either you can select exactly 1 or you could select exactly 2 and so on till exactly R. Okay, so this would be your answer. Now similarly, if I ask what are the total number of ways of selecting any number of objects out of N different objects such that at least one object is selected. So the question is selection of any number of objects, at least one, out of N different objects. Now what would that be? That would be, see, what are the, there are, how many cases would be there? See, one case would be either you select exactly one object, that is NC1, or you could select exactly two objects, that is NC2, and so on till NCN. Now if you have studied a little bit of binomial, you would recognize this as 2 to the power n minus 1. If you haven't, then it's okay. There is another way of, I will cover binomial in a later chapter. Now another way of looking at this is, see, you have n objects, object 1, object 2 and object n. Now there are two choices, either select this, okay, either select this object or reject this. Similarly, select this or reject this. So similarly for this, select or reject. So for every object there are two options. So in total there are 2 to the power n choices that you can make. There are 2 to the power n ways in which you can create a sequence. Now you see, for corresponding to every sequence of select or reject, you get a choice of the number of objects that you have chosen. For example, if I select the first object, reject the second, select the third, reject the fourth, and so on, and let's say the last object I select, then this is one sequence, right? And this sequence tells me that I have selected object 1, object 3, so on, and object n. Okay, so this is one way of selection. So corresponding to every sequence of select or reject, I get one choice. Okay, so how many total choices are there? There are 2 to the power n. Alright, but this includes one case when I did not select any object at all. So I subtract that, because the question is selection of any number of objects, at least one. Alright, okay. Let's solve a question. Okay, so the question is, suppose there are 4 bags, B1, B2, B3 and B4. 4 bags. Okay, now B1 contains identical objects, all identical objects of type 1, and they are equal to n1 in number. Okay, similarly B2 contains identical objects type 2 and they are n2 in number. B3 contains different objects, all different objects, and they are n3 in number, and B4 contains all different objects and they are n4 in number. Okay, and it is given that n1 is strictly less than n2 is strictly less than n3 is strictly less than n4. Okay, all right. Now the question is, first part, what are the total number of possible selection such that at least one is selected? At least one is selected. Okay, now you see what we are given is this. This is bag B1, this is bag B2, this is bag B3, and this is bag B4. This has n1 identical object, this has n2 identical object, this has n3 different objects, and this has n4 different objects. Okay, now, and it is given that n1 is less than n2 is less than n3 is less than n4. Okay, now you see, we can solve this problem as follows. Suppose I say that event E1 is selecting at least 0 objects. See, we have to find total number of possible selections, that is any number of objects can be chosen. Okay, now it can happen that nothing is selected. It can happen that nothing is selected from, let's say, bag B1, B2, B3, but something is selected from bag B4. Or it could happen that something is selected from bag B1 but nothing is selected from B2, B3 and B4. So, okay, so all those possible cases we have to include. Now suppose event E1 is selecting at least 0 objects from n1 identical objects. Now we have seen above that what we have seen already is that selecting at least r objects out of n1 identical object, that is equal to n1 minus r plus 1, and if I put r equal to 0, then this will give me n1 plus 1, which is the number number of ways of selecting at least 0 objects, okay, out of n1 identical objects. Okay, now we have selected at least 0. This case we have considered the case r equal to 0 because it can, as I said, it can so happen that I don't select anything from bag B1. Okay, so that case is also included. Okay, then similarly event E2 is selecting at least 0 objects from bag B2, that is either you select nothing from B1 from B2, or you select at least 1 object, 2 object, 3 object, or n1 or n2 objects. Okay, then event E3 would be, let's say, selecting at least 0 objects from n3 different objects, that is nothing but n3c0 plus n3c1 plus n3c n3, which is nothing but 2 to the power n3. All right, or you could think like this also, that just like we argued previously here, this logic. Now don't subtract minus 1. Don't subtract minus 1 from this case because we are including the case when nothing is selected. Okay, so total number of ways would be 2 to the power n3. Similarly, E4 would be number of ways of selecting at least 0 objects from n4 different objects would be 2 to the power n4. Okay, now the required answer is what? Required answer is what we are looking for is total number of possible selections, that is at least one should be selected. So that is nothing but event E1 and E2 and E3 and E4. This is nothing but the multiplication rule. Minus 1, because 1 we have subtracted because this is the case when nothing is selected from any of the boxes. So we subtract that case. So the answer is n1 plus 1 into n plus 1 into 2 to the power n3 into 2 to the power n4 minus 1. Okay, now if this logic is clear, then the remaining questions will be very simple. Suppose I ask you at least 1 from each box is selected. What are the number of ways such that at least 1 object is selected from each box? then what is that? Now, if at least one is selected from each box, then you have B1, B2, B3, B4. What are the number of ways of selecting at least one object from n1 identical objects? If I consider B1 box, what are the number of ways of selecting at least one object from this? That is nothing but n1 minus r equal to 1 plus 1, which is n1. Similarly, this is n2. And similarly, this is 2 to the power n3 minus 1 into 2 to the power n4 minus 1. Now don't subtract 1, because we have already considered all the cases where at least one object is selected from each box. Okay, so there is no need to subtract 1, because we have already selected at least one object from each of the boxes. So that case is not at all a problem for us when nothing is selected. That will not come only. That will not be considered here in this answer. Okay, because we have selected at least one object from each of the boxes. Okay. Okay. Now, if I ask, find the total number of ways such that no object is selected from B, let's say B3, no object from B3. Okay. Now you see, if no object is selected from B3, then what would we do? Now, nothing is, no condition is given, is imposed on the remaining bags. Okay. On the remaining bags, no condition is imposed. So, what are the number of ways of selecting at least 0 objects from bag 1, that is n1 plus 1? Then number of ways of selecting at least 0 objects from bag 2, n2 plus 1. See, the question says that no object is selected from B3. That is only important. It can happen that nothing is selected from B1, nothing is selected from B2, nothing is selected from B3, because that is the question, and something is selected from B4. Okay, all right. Now you see, now pay attention. Nothing. Suppose at least 0 objects are selected from B1, at least 0 objects are selected from B2, and there is only, and no object is selected from B2. There is only from B. No object is selected from B3, so there is only one way of that. Okay, and at least 0 objects are selected from B4. The number of ways is 2 to the power n4 and n4. Now we have to subtract 1 from here, because you see, there will be a case when nothing is selected from any of the boxes. Okay, but the condition is that at least but okay, no object from B3, and in total at least one object must be selected. All right, in total at least one object must be selected. So there will be a case when nothing is selected from B1, nothing is selected from B2, B3 anyways nothing is selected, and nothing is selected from B4. So we subtract that case from here. Okay. Okay. Now, if I ask part D, selecting at least one from B3, at least one from B3. Now, if I want to select at least one from B3, again from B1, it can happen that I don't select anything. So n1 plus 1, at least 0 objects. Again B2, n2 plus 1. And then B3, at least 1 is selected, so 2 to the power n3 minus 1. And from B4 again, because we have subtracted the case when nothing is selected from B3. Okay, so we subtract that case here itself, because the question says that at least one from B3 must be selected. So the number of ways in which you can select at least one object from B3 is 2 to the power n3 minus 1. And then it can happen that nothing is selected from B4, so total number of cases would be 2 to the power n4. Now there is no need of subtracting minus 1 here, because we have selected at least one object from B3. So there is no question of asking, there is no question that if someone says that what will happen if nothing is selected from any of the boxes. Well, that cannot happen at all, because we have already selected at least one object from B3 here. Okay, then if I say selecting equal number of objects from B1, B2, at least one we have to select from B1, B2. Okay, at least one. At least one means that at least one object must be selected from B1 and B2. Okay, so again, if the question is, okay, now let's make cases. Case 1, one from B1 and one from B2, and let's say event E3 is at least 0 from B3, because there is no condition on B3, so it can happen that we don't select anything from B3 at all, and at least 0 from B4. Okay, then you could have, let's say, 2 from B1, 2 from B2, and similarly at least 0 from B3 and at least 0 from B4. Okay, now till where can we go? Well, see, it is given to us that n1 is less than n2 is less than n3 is less than n4 strictly. Okay, so the maximum that we can go is we select n1 from B1, n1 from B2, and at least 0 from B3 and B4. Okay, now these are all mutually exclusive cases. Okay, these are all mutually exclusive cases. So what will be the final answer? Well, for case 1, this is case 2 and this is case n1. So corresponding to case 1, you have how many ways? Well, selecting one object from B1, that is one way, because n1 identical objects are there. Similarly, one way of selecting one object from n2 identical objects, and then 2 to the power n3 into 2 to the power n4. Then, and this will repeat for all the cases. For case 2, again you have 1 into 1 into 2 to the power n3 into 2 to the power n4, and so on till case n1. So finally what you get is you have n1 times the same thing which is getting repeated. So this is nothing but n1 into 2 to the power n3 into 2 to the power n4. This is your answer. All right, now if I ask selecting, let's say, number of ways of selecting one object more from B2 than B1. Okay, again this is simple. You have B1, B2, B3, B4. We are asking the number of ways of selecting one object more from B2 than B1. So if I select 0 from B1, then I can select one object from B2. Okay, if I select one object from B1, I have to select two objects from B3, and if I select till n1, and this will go till n1 plus 1. And B3 and B4, you can select at least 0 object, that is you can select nothing from B3 and B4 also, or you could select one each, or you could select two each, or whatever. It is totally arbitrary. Okay, so this will become, so for example, for this case the answer is 1 into 1 into 2 to the power n3 into 2 to the power n4. Okay, and for each of these cases the same answer would apply. So the final answer would be n1 plus 1 into 2 to the power n3 into 2 to the power n4. All right. Okay, now if I say, if I want to select equal number of, if I ask the find the number of ways of selecting equal number of objects from B3 and B4, instead of B1 and B2 I say B3 and B4. Okay, so, and such that at least one object is selected. So you have B1, you have B2, you have B3, you have B4. Now from B1 and B2 we can select any number of objects, it doesn't matter. But in B3 and B4 at least one object should be selected and equal number should be selected. Okay, so we could have one object from B3, one object from B4, two objects from B3, two objects from B4, so on till n3 objects from B3 and n3 objects from B4, because n3 is less than n4, it is given. Okay, so this is nothing but for each of these cases. For example, for the first case, you will have how many ways? How many ways? You will have n1 plus 1, okay, into n2 plus 1. n1 plus 1 because you can select at least 0 objects, right? At least 0 objects you can select from the back from the bag b1. At least 0 objects you can select from the bag b2. Okay, and you have to select one object from b1. So what are the number of ways? n3 c1. Okay, and one object from b4, so you have n4 c1. Similarly, for case 2, you have n1 plus 1 into n2 plus 1. You have n3 c2 into n4 c2. Okay, so finally what you get is n1 plus 1 into n2 plus 1. For case 1, you will have, this will be common for all the cases. For case 1, you will have one object you have to select from b1 and one object you have to select from b2. Then two objects you have to select from b3, sorry, b3 and b4. You have to select two objects from b3, then two objects from b4, and so on till n3c n3 into n4c n3. Okay, so again, if you are familiar with binomial, then you would recognize that this sum is nothing but n3 plus n4c n3 minus 1. Okay, otherwise you can leave the answer here, there's no problem. Okay, so that's it for today's lecture, and I'll start with grouping and division in the next lecture. Okay.